The ramifications of the McGirt ruling is also the focus of a report published this week by two of our content partners, KOSU Radio and The Frontier. It involves a fatal police shooting last year in Glenpool and how the police have responded to the victim's family under new procedures imposed by the McGirt ruling. I spoke with reporter Allison Herrera. Allison, let's start with the basic facts of the case. What happened?
Julian Rose was a 28-year-old Muskogee Nation citizen. He went to school in Bristow and Glenpool. His family described him as being a really fun, caring, and outgoing person. He was struggling a little. His license had been suspended and was just looking for a way to get back on his feet. So on December 15th of last year, he was at his grandmother's house. Emergency medical workers, Glenpool police, and a firefighter arrived at the scene around that time at 7:45. Julian stabbed an officer in the left shoulder, but walked away and was tased a couple of times, and then reportedly lunged at the officers. According to what the family learned, Julian was either 6 feet, 12 to 15 feet, and one account said 25 feet from the officers when multiple shots were fired and killing him. The U.S. Attorney's Office did ultimately clear the officers based on the fact that he had assaulted his aunt's boyfriend.
How has the McGirt ruling affected how the police have responded to the victim's family?
His shooting was investigated by federal authorities, the FBI, but whereas before it probably would have been investigated by the OSBI. Police have told the family that because of that fact, they must direct all of their questions to the FBI and the U.S. Attorney's Office. And I think that's where the communication is broken down a little bit.
Is this a case of police being uncertain on how to proceed, or perhaps using McGirt as an excuse to not release information to the family and to the media?
The Glenpool Police Department, under the Oklahoma Open Records Act, has a duty, no matter who is in charge of investigating the case, to turn over those records, like the 911 call and the police report, especially since it was a shooting involving an officer. And if they don't turn over those records, I think that has a really chilling effect on reporting. Those are the people's records, and we should be able to access them. And I think the family definitely feels that way.
Allison, are the police shootings of indigenous people on the rise in Oklahoma?
While overall police shootings were down in 2020 from the mid-50s in 2018 and 2019 to the mid-30s, shootings among indigenous people rose last year, and Native people represented 20% of all fatal shootings last year. And Julian was one of those shootings.
So what is the fix for a problem like this? Does it come from the legislature, Washington, D.C., perhaps the courts?
I have seen a number of laws that have been passed, like Ida's law, for example, here in Oklahoma, that's specifically targeted at missing and murdered indigenous people.
This bill will ensure a more coordinated response.
And I think that's the model. If we can come up with something where agencies kind of work together to coordinate and communicate with families, I think that's the fix.
Allison Herrera, a great collaboration with The Frontier. We thank you very much for your time.
Thank you so much for having me on the show.